everyone. Had another great conversation on, I guess you'll call it a podcast, radio session. I'll come up with a term for that later. But great conversation. And by the way, it's on iHeartRadio. For those of you who are not familiar, it's called the Reverend Dr. Christina Clement's Restitution. And the goal of that show is to basically have conversations while we're obtaining restitution for the community. And on this show, or this episode, it came to my attention that I originally filed all the paperwork under the name State of Lock Nation Global Public Benefit Corporation, right? And it was brought to my attention that some people may not see themselves in that category or being represented by State of Lock Nation because they don't have locks. And so they may not necessarily attach themselves to the mission because they don't have locks. So let me give you a brief backstory or history on the name State of Lock Nation. Now, originally, State of Lock Nation was formulated to stop the discrimination of people with locks. And in my journey of researching information and laws and what's going on in the community and percentages and all that good stuff, I realized that this information can also help just the overall general Afro community, okay? Now, when I included the Afro community to this, that's when I came across how many different categories we're labeled. It's almost like 196 the last time I checked. So what I mean by that is you may want to be called Black, you may be want to call African American, you may want to be called Indigenous, you may want to be called Afro-Colombian, Afro-Mexican, Afro-Chinese, anything of Afro descent, Moorish. I mean, there's so many different terms that is there to describe those group of people. But if we all stood together, we have one commonality, and that's the color of our skin. Or if you are of a lighter persuasion, but you still have Black DNA or African American DNA or what have you. So that converted State of Lock Nation into a lock of nations, if you will. So State of Lock Nation is representing anyone who has Afro descent, are part of any of those 196 categories, whether you're indigenous or what have you. Now, for those who are entirely strong about word usages and protecting their tribes and all that good stuff, this does not take away from any of the work that you have done. This does not take away any of your culture. This doesn't lose your identity. It merely recognizes that you are part of the family. We're cousins, if you will, right? And if it's not good for me, it's not good for you. And if it works for me, then it should also work for you. It reminds me of that scene in Black Panther when all the different tribes came together for that one common purpose, was to pick the new king, right? So and it works, because if you look at all the documents that you file now, like if you're doing an application or something like that, they want to know if you're Hispanic, non-Hispanic, black, white, Indian, you know, all the different drop downs. That same concept can work for us, and then we can get past that part, right? Check off who you are or what you associate with, and then we'll even have a box for other, so that your tribe or your nation or your ethnicity or your culture is recognized. However, we are a majority, so quite naturally it's going to be a large drop down, right? So we can maybe even chop it down by regions, but we'll focus on that later. But in state of Lock Nation is uniting all of these nations under one roof, right? Just like United Nations is recognizing all the different nations, but we have our Black United Nations, okay? So you can still keep your goals, your missions, your all that. But in order for the community to move ahead past this 400-year grievance, we have to walk on one accord. We have to walk as a unit. Okay? Okay, so, but what I've seen is that this organization wants to be the organization and wants you to forget all the work that you've done and to forget your identity and create a new identity. We don't have to do that. You can keep your identity. You can keep your identity. You can keep your identity. We just agree on one common goal. So I'm going to post, once I get back to my computer, I'm going to post a general code that the village, the community, the nations can follow, and is not separated or dissected by your race or anything like that. It's separated by your role within the community, because we can range depending on if you're young or if you're older or if you're a teenager or what have you. Those roles may alter throughout the course of your life. So the code would be based off of if you're a mom, a sister, a cousin, a brother, a dad, an uncle. Whenever you take on those roles within your family, then this code applies. And if we all operate within this code, then we can unite and walk as one. Because what happened is, we all was raised in different religions, and those different religions had different variations of codes. But when you became an adult and left those churches that grandmama and mama and all that put you in, what code does the community follow at this point? Right? The neighborhoods have been separated due to the increased rents. So we don't have the old school neighborhoods no more. So what codes is the communities following? And that, when you answer we don't really follow a code, there's why we as a community cannot unite. Okay? So this code that been filed on public record within the court case is the code that we as a community will follow. And it doesn't matter what your race is. It doesn't matter what your nation is or what you identify yourself. It is simply, if as a mom, what is the role of the mom? What is the role of the dad, the uncle, the cousin, the niece, all of that? Because what we're seeing in our community is a lack of structure. And we have to put that in place, because we're losing our younger generation to no structure. And that's not how we operate. Not being the kings and queens and we the original aborigines to the land and all this royal talk that we're out here talking, then it's find time to get our community back in order. So that is the representation of State of Lock Nation. And you could understand that we're moving forward with the official black dollar. The paperwork has been done. We're moving forward with the protective laws that's been established in the District Court of Columbia's court case. We're moving forward with all the infrastructure that has been introduced as what we as a people are going to move forward doing. And then until next time, okay?